Vice President Kamala Harris has been vocal on tackling price gouging to tame inflation. Last week, Harris highlighting this issue at a campaign event in North Carolina.
Many of the big food companies are seeing their highest profits in 2 decades. And while many grocery chains pass along these savings, others still aren't. Look, I know most businesses are creating jobs, contributing to our economy, and playing by the rules. But some are not. And that's just not right. And we need to take action when that is the case.
In response, Democratic presidential nominee Harris has vowed to enact the first federal ban on price gouging. Here with a closer look at the narrative of higher food prices, we have Yahoo Finance's very own senior columnist, Rick Newman. Rick, my first question to you, my friend, my colleague, what is price gouging?
Nobody knows, but it's when you're a consumer and you just don't like the price.
Yeah. That's the definition.
If you look at the price and you're like, that's price
local laws
gouging.
against price gouging. I mean, if there's a snowstorm and the price of shovels
But I'm asking for a
spikes,
definition.
Right? There actually is no economic definition of price gouging. I mean, we don't even have an exact definition of what is a monopoly. I mean, if you control 100% of the market, that's a monopoly. But we have giant lawsuits over what is 70% of the market a monopoly. I mean, Google has what, 70% of the search, or maybe 90%? Do they have a monopoly? Apple, is it Apple a monopoly on phone operating systems? I mean, this often gets determined in courts.
But you looked at the numbers from a bunch of different industries. You compared costs and profits to try to get at whether this was going on.
Right, and so this is just looking at the food industry, but I used data on all the food companies that are in the S&P 500, so it's publicly available data. And I got profit and cost information for all these 8 different sectors from before COVID and after COVID. So basically I'm measuring, did their profitability go up? So there are 8 different sectors here. In 5 of those sectors, profitability in the food industry went down, not up. So their profits relative to their costs were lower after COVID. In 3 industries, profitability was higher post-COVID, which is to say now. And in a couple, it's only a wash. It's a small difference. But there's one that does stand out a little bit. It's a sector called agricultural products and services. This is deep in the supply chain. These are not consumer products. These are products that farms, industrial farms would buy. The biggest company in this sector is ADM, formerly known as Archer Daniels Midland. So I looked at their numbers. Their profitability has gone up. So their profit margin almost doubled in the period from before COVID to after COVID. And if you listen to their earnings calls from the last couple of years, yes, the executives are saying we have pricing power. We are able to raise prices. So they were doing that. Their overall profit margin, ADM we're talking about, is 4.3%. So before COVID, it was around 2.2%. It went up to 4.3 or so. That was a peak. It's now coming down. Is a 4.3% profit margin price gouging? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it.
Does it look
Apple's
as great?
profit margin is 26%. By the way, I did ask ADM, if you're watching ADM, why don't you get back to me? They didn't answer.
Come on.
They have no
on the
comment.
show.
Listen, and
They didn't even acknowledge my request.
I mean, to be fair, too, ADM is far from the only company that talked about pricing power over the past couple of years on their conference call. Rick, thank you so much.
Sure.